Welcome. Today we're gonna talk about something that is very interesting to learn about and you should learn more about. We're gonna talk about hacking and vulnerabilities and how you can protect yourself from these kind of attacks. This is very interesting right now because the Twitter hack that happened just a few days ago, where a lot of famous or big accounts on Twitter started this Bitcoin scam, and what actually happened was social engineering. They got access to credentials of an employee at Twitter. More about that when we talk later. And actually today I invited Charles, which is part of one of the guilds on Wax. They just announced that they are here. They are security experts in this field. They are here to help guilds set up their infrastructure more secure, and moving forward they want to help the users as well. And this is the Sentinel guild. I will have a link below to Charles and the guild and everything. So let's dig into this. Actually, before we dig in, we will also have an example on how phishing attacks work on a website. Charles put up a fake website that show how easy this is and how easy you can get tricked. I was gonna say a bad word there. I'm not sure that I should. I might get flagged for it. But you might do something that you regret if you go to a website that phishes this information. So let's jump into and see what Charles has to say. And over and out. Okay, so welcome, Charles. Today we're gonna talk about different kinds of hacking and phishing attempts because that's something you're very good at. Your team has just announced that you are running for a guild on Wax, and your expertise is actually IT security. So tell us a little bit about why you're here and what you offer for the Wax ecosystem.
Yeah, so I used to be part of EOS back in the day, but I left and I came back, and I sort of liked what Wax was doing, and but we were looking to see what we could provide to the existing ecosystem. And one shortcoming, I think, in general is the security auditing of all the guild systems. But I understand, because it's expensive to get your systems audited by a security company. So we thought, well, why don't we have the expertise? Why don't we offer this as a free service? So yeah, that's our first product is free security auditing for guilds on Wax.
That's great, because just a basic thing, as we see with the producers on different chains, is that they have the same owner and active key. They use the owner key in mobile wallets and things like that, and that's just obvious errors.
Yeah, and I think it's just making people aware about the dangers, and if we can automate those scans and people can just see, I mean, that's the idea. We want to create a security portal for guilds that they can they'll log in and they can see, someone else is using your active key on this account, or this port's open on this server. It should maybe not be open.
Yeah, that's good. Very nice. Do you have any long-term ideas for users or DApp services or something like that?
Yeah, we're looking at. I mean, we're quite new to Wax, so we need to learn a bit more about the Wax offering and the NFT side of things. But for now, we're just focusing on the security side.
You're doing what you're good at, so that's awesome. Yeah. But why you are here today is that we're gonna talk about hacks, and right now it's a hot subject because Twitter just got hacked by.
Of course, poor Twitter.
And actually, the hack seemed to be a social engineering hack, which is one of the most common one. What is that, and how does it work?
So I think it's you can call it social engineering attack. It's a targeted attack. So these people wanted to get into Twitter, so they will. They run automate. You can run an automated system, for instance, to get all the employees of LinkedIn that worked at Twitter. You can then have a database. You can then look at these people, or look at them on Facebook, look at their GitHubs, just to get an idea of who they are as a person, and then you can send targeted emails to them, and hope someone clicks on it. So I think that's probably what they've done. Someone clicked on a link, and it's definitely a planned attack. So they'll be ready when someone clicks on that link, it will connect to a centralized control server, and they're ready for the attack because they obviously they want it to happen. So as soon as you click on the link, connects back, and they're in your systems.
Yeah, and could this, like, if I bring home my work computer that has access to this and connect it to my personal internet connection, that my wife or girlfriend or whatever also has a computer, and they phish her, can they access my device in some way?
Yeah, it certainly makes it easier because it's almost like if you imagine someone coming to your house and connecting to your local network. You've now broken that firewall perimeter, which is the hard part. So yes, it definitely it makes it easier. Every layer you penetrate, it makes life easier.
So that's another way they can do that.
Yeah.
And what are the common ways to do this? Is it just the email or and finding the information, or how do they reach
I
them?
think depends who they're attacking. So if there's a lot of hackers out there that are often just want to make money. So what they'll do is they'll try and hack your computer and encrypt your files. So that sort of social engineering is just it's throwing a big net out in the wild and hoping someone clicks on a link. So that could be anything. It's an email, not necessarily targeted, an email, a link, a website. And if you click on the link, they try and encrypt your files and ask you for money. And then the other part, which is more of a targeted attack. They call that it's whale phishing. So they know who they're going. They know who they're going for, and it's very, very targeted.
Yeah, and let me try to phrase this in a if if I click one of these links to them, am I safe if I don't download something or if I don't continue on that site?
Depends what it is. So there's vulnerabilities called XSS, so cross-site scripting. And so what that is, if you go to a web page and the code behind the web page isn't 100% correct, they call it escaping. So if you go to a web page, any web page could have this problem. Even Facebook could have this problem. If let's say Facebook has this problem and someone identifies the issue, they send you a link to Facebook, and at the end of the URL they add a little bit more text. And if you click on that link, it automatically loads JavaScript, and then that JavaScript can do anything on your computer.
So
No,
a
it's
link
not
is
always
enough.
downloading. Link is enough. Now, browsers are getting good to block these things. So, the trick is to always make sure your browsers are up to date. But it's a cat and mouse game.
Yeah, and you can shorten these URLs to hide them a bit.
Yeah, you can, which makes it even worse. Yeah.
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 And what is fun is that you actually set up a page to show how this works. So let's start a screen share and see if we can
Okay. Yeah.
we can see how it operates. Watch stream. Yes, I'm in.
Okay, so this is called a vulnerable bank system.
How long did it take for you to set up this one?
An hour, but now that it's set up, it will take 2 minutes.
Okay.
It's a Docker container, so I can spin it up really, really, really quickly. So as you can see, it looks like a normal bank. Obviously, it's quite obvious. It's called vulnerable bank because it's a system that someone else created. But you can easily make it look like a real bank. So I'm a customer of the bank. I'm logging in now with my password. And for now, everything looks normal. This is my normal bank account. I've got no money left, but that's okay. Actually, no, I do. I've got $760, which is great. So what will happen is someone will then send you a link. And I'll just quickly use a URL shortener. Sorry, a URL shortener.
Yeah.
Okay. Go. So someone now sends you this link saying, "Oh, hi, you can this is from your bank. So they can send an email saying from your bank, hey guys, we've got a new competition. We are where you can win an iPhone. So you go, oh, this is great. I'll click on the link. So you click on this link and you can see it looks very much like your bank. You can see Val Bank, there's an iPhone. You go, yeah, this must be legitimate. The only obvious thing on top is you can see instead of saying bank.sentnl.io, which is the original banking URL, it now says evil.sentnl.io.
Yeah.
So that's the first obvious point. But now I'm saying, yes, I would love to participate. That sounds great. So now the evil system pretends that you haven't logged in. So it asks you for your username and password again.
And this
So
is
I'm now
common. If you go for a link to a web page, you usually have to verify that it's you again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Especially if you're a bank. So I click submit. And now it says, congratulations, you are participating in an iPhone competition. So you don't think anything is wrong.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I've recorded your username and password. So it records your IP address, the referrer, which is just so I know as an attacker where it's come from. And then there's your username and password. And this was done without obviously downloading any software, because this was a XSS attack. So it just means this bank has got an issue somewhere on their system that allows for these attacks.
And now this is your website. You set this up. But if they built a bad website, you can do this on another person's website as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I can literally I could emulate HSBC if I want to do, or I don't know what a Swedish bank is, but it's just the graphics really.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I mean, it'll take some work to make it look like the bank, but yeah, you could.
And if you actually have a website, because this is just a bank, it could be something else, a fake Reddit or whatever.
Yeah, or a fake wax. You know, I could set up a system that actually takes in real NFTs from wax, and I could launch and say, hey guys, this is a new portal for wax NFTs, and let people use it. You don't even add anything bad. Then one day you decide, because you own the website, you could tweak it.
Yeah.
And then you could start stealing username and passwords of people, and then in the hope that they use the same username and password in more than one place.
Yeah. No, and the issue here is, well, they log in usually with the cloud wallet, but if they get a pop-up and sign something, now the cloud wallet protects them from updating the keys, so they can't get rid of the account. But if they whitelist all the actions on the site, they can actually transfer some things. They can lose their NFTs and stuff like that.
You're right. Yeah.
So that's interesting.
But yeah, even though, just because I think what a lot of people do these days is they use the same username and password.
Yeah.
And then so even if you have the username and password, you might not go after their wax NFTs, but you could then have a look. You could automate a system in the background that checks Facebook, Gmail. You know, you can go on.
Yeah, and there's this website ihavebeenpawned.com.
Yes.
That actually you can just enter a email and check if it's in one of the known leaks.
Yeah.
And if I enter mine, I can see that it's been leaked 7 times, one of my most used ones. So
yes, I've got one of those as well, and that prompted me a couple of years ago to change it.
Yeah, so if I have the same email and the same password as I have on these 7 sites, they now can access all the other sites that use the same setup. So yeah, that is for sure something interesting to learn about. And this is not really the only one. I mean, something that I shared on a poll a few days on Twitter was if people were aware that a bad USB stick or a bad USB cable could actually hack your system. Do you know how that works?
Yeah, so I mean, you can even buy these things online now. There's one called a rubber ducky that you can buy, and this goes even further because it emulates a keyboard. So when you plug the USB stick into your system, you might have existing security for USB on your system, but that'll bypass that as well, because it pretends to be a keyboard, and by default your system will accept a keyboard. So you plug it in, it pretends it's a keyboard, and it runs in the background. You don't know what's going to go what's going to go on, but it also presents you with what you were after. So if it's a USB that you got from a friend with images on, or zip files or something, it's still going to present that to you. But in the background, it's doing its nefarious activity, whatever it's trying to do.
And that could be all kinds of things, download and install things. And
Yeah, what generally happens is it connects to a control server. So you load up your control server, and as soon as you plug the USB charger, stick, whatever it is, it connects to your control server. And because the two are now linked, and it's opened up with the same credentials that you as a user have, anything you can do, the control server can also do.
so if I got this on my computer and I have my scatter with my private keys, if I copy and paste that private key, can they get it then? With these kind of, or do they need
Yeah.
some other kind of tool?
No, they can log all your, they can do keyloggers. They could even do worse. They could. I'm trying to think if you could do. You could do this. You could wait for specific applications to pop up. So let's say scatter pops up, and then they could, when you paste a private key, they could paste their own private key. So unless you look properly, it could be their. It could be their. Sorry, I'm saying this wrong. Let's say you're sending money from one account to another account. If you paste a wax account in, they could change that account name to theirs.
Yeah,
You
like
can do all kinds of.
if they see that you deposit to Bitrex, they change it to Bitrex, and you may not notice it, and then it goes to the scammer, which happened. There was an autofill on a website a while ago, so a guy lost 300,000 wax because of there was an autofill to the wrong account.
Oh no! And was that just his mistake, or did he?
He double checked, but he said hobby deposit instead of hobby wax depot or something like that. So it looked legit, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
So
It's a shame because you know when you do those transfers, those big ones, you like really, you count the letters. You're like da, 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 da.
Yeah.
But
and then it said who be depot, so it looked legit, but it wasn't. So there's a lot of things that can go wrong.
Yeah, I think especially if you're being targeted specifically, there is almost no hope. I hate to say it, but obviously it depends who it is. But generally, for the general population, you just have to be vigilant because it's not a personal attack, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, how often do you have any idea on how often databases get leaked with hashes of passwords and emails and things like that?
No, but I would say it's more often than you hear, because we hear about it because it's the news, but that's not always the case. Because I think what people want to do is with these databases, they sell it on online forums on the dark web, and a lot of the time they want to collect, let's say, 5 different databases, so 5 different companies' databases before they expose it.
Yeah.
But that website you mentioned, I've Been Pawned, they're pretty good at staying hot on all the leaked databases. So they'll collect all that information. But no, it's more often like banks get hacked so much more than we think, but they don't want to tell us because it makes them look bad. So if someone steals money from a bank, if someone steals $100,000 from a bank, it's more damage to their reputation to publicize it.
And before we started, you had an example of how a bank got hacked by USB sticks. So could you tell us how that worked?
Yeah, so there was a bank, and I can't remember the name. They obviously had a security consultancy who worked for them, and every three times a year they would try and hack into this bank, and it's called a red team exercise. So it's a bunch of hackers that work together, and no one in the bank knows this is happening apart from, let's say, the CTO and the CEO maybe, and they try different ways to get into the bank. So first they try and attack the external perimeter, but they failed. Then they did targeting, social engineering with emailing, so phishing, that failed as well. So what they then did is they set up these special USBs that acted as keyboards when you plug them in, and they stood outside the bank, and they were giving away a newspaper and a free USB stick. And so some of these bank employees took the newspaper and they took the USB stick, and when they went into the office, they plugged it in. Now, even though the bank had security to disable USB, because they were acting as keyboards, there was additional security protection that wasn't enabled. Someone plugged it in and they were in.
And then they can do whatever they want.
And that was the end. Luckily for them, it was obviously a consultancy and not a real attack.
Yeah. And if you listen to these consultancies, because there are a few that put up video content and stuff like that, they actually often say that the way they get into systems is these social engineering things, when they actually brute force the place in real life. So they hide in the area, they talk their way into some information.
Yes, yeah. And there's all these. I saw one the other day, which just like, I can't believe they can actually do this, where they can look at a light bulb in a room. It's got to be a non-LED light bulb, I believe, but a normal light bulb, and they can record conversations based on the way the sound travels from our mouth that affects the light coming from the light beams. And if they record that, they can actually record your voice, what you're saying. I mean, it's scary.
We're all doomed.
We are all doomed, yeah.
No, but really, we should all take this seriously, because there's a lot of things that you can do that is easy. What are the best steps that a normal person, a normal user, can do to prevent, like, the most common ways? They can't really prevent a straight attack, but they can do this.
Of course.
A lot of these phishing attempts. What should they think about?
Watching videos like this is great. So listening to people talk about it. I'd say the number one thing is get yourself a password manager, and do not use the same password more than once. That's probably the key thing, because like you said, if you go and I've been pawned, if you put your password in or your username, very likely that it's been used and it's available. So yeah, and don't click on random links. If you get even if you get an SMS from someone you don't know, don't open the link. Don't open emails you don't know. If you get random phone calls, this happens as well. You can get a phone call, and it might be from the tax people in your country saying, "Oh, you owe us tax," and then they disconnect, and then you phone them back, but that number you're phoning charges you £1 a minute, as an example.
Yeah,
that's another example. I think being vigilant is the key. Being paranoid.
Yeah, and on Telegram we have these everywhere, and they create this profile. It looks like the real person, but it's not. They hide their username, which is stupid that they can actually do that on Telegram. They hide the username, and in the bio they write the @ and then they had a fake username. So if someone talks to me and it's a fake one, it says it's not the username, but it says in bio and it's @Orcus, and it would look like it's me. It's the same picture, it's the same info.
Oh no, you could do that.
And it would actually be very, very simple. And on the phone, it's harder to notice a lot of these things than it is on the desktop, because on the desktop, one of the easy ways to find this is to open the images, the profile pictures, because they will upload the same profile pictures. If you have multiple, they will upload multiple. And then you can look at the upload date, and you will see that it's usually the exact same minute or just a minute apart. And that is very unlikely that a person, a real user, changes multiple images, multiple profile pictures in a row at the same time.
Yeah, you're right.
That is one way to find it.
It's like that old saying: if it's too good to be true, it's probably not. Someone messaged you saying, "Hey, if you send 200 wax, I'll give you 400 wax back." And like, oh yes, that sounds like a good deal.
Yeah.
We let our greed sometimes
Yeah, and sometimes they're
They
actually
do
very
well.
smart. They set up multiple fake accounts and then they have conversations between me and another person, but they are the middleman. I think I'm talking to the other one and they think they're talking to me, but in reality we're talking to the same person and they copy our messages and send them back and forward. And it looks like it's the correct way. And they actually might even have a group chat together with the third person, which is this scammer. And it looks like everything is correct, but the group chat is not with everyone. It's just the scammer has two accounts in there. And yeah, so you think it's the correct one and then everything looks correct. They send the right information. They say, perhaps it's one of these over-the-counter deals where you sell some tokens for some other tokens, and they say, yeah, we got it, everything is okay, and we send the next one. And in reality, you just sent everything to scammer that scammed both of you. And this is actually very common. And if you have had a few beers, you will not notice this.
That's so. What's the rule there? Don't.
Yeah.
Don't chat when you're drunk.
Don't do deals. Don't, even if you earn money on it when you're drunk. Yeah. No, so this is very scary. And one thing that we didn't really mention either is what type of password you have, because there's a lot of things that you can do to increase the security of a password, and using password 123 exclamation mark is not the best idea, because what websites do is they have this email, and that can be public if they access the database, but the password is a hash. And they can't see this password, but they can download this database and they can try to break this hash by testing passwords, by brute forcing it.
Yeah.
And if it's a known password that has been leaked somewhere else and they have found it, they will test that password to this new one. And if it's a common password, they're in seconds. Doesn't matter how good this encryption is.
Yeah. And I mean, I've got a GPU system at my office. It's got five graphics cards, and that can guess 1 million passwords per second. So what a lot of people do is they have the same password. They keep changing a letter on either end or a letter in the middle. Doesn't work either. You just can't do that. It's got to be. I think the key is it's got to be long, very long.
Yeah.
And
say I have a very long. I have. I like horses, or I like blue horses. That's a long password, and perhaps I have some number in there as well. But that's pretty easy to crack with the dictionary.
Yeah, and also if you there's people create password lists. So what people do is they take all the dumps from all the passwords and from all the databases that are visible, so the previous hacked passwords. They collect this information, they remove duplicates, and they put it for a system. So if a password is very common, they remove one of them, but they add a rule. So they'll probably, they'll get millions of passwords down to a couple of hundreds and thousands. And if you've shoved that into a system, if you think mine can do 1 million a second, it's not very long before they can guess your password.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a botnet where you actually sent a Trojan and you have access to one computer, and these botnets are usually hundreds of thousands of devices. If you use all of these, even if you don't use them in full capacity, you can break a few of these hashes pretty fast.
Yeah.
So that is actually very scary. So that is and if you use an online cloud version of a password manager, make sure that the password you use are not the same as you use anywhere else, and the email is not the same as you use anywhere else.
Yeah, then they get into that. Yeah.
So don't use the same email as you use in any other place, because then you're doomed. Because they are honeypots. If I'm a hacker and I want stuff, it's very easy to target the place where everyone keeps all their passwords.
Yeah, you're true. Very right. And you can very easily automate that as well.
So use a different email and a different password for that place.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a lot of basic things. And I mean, like the Twitter one, the Twitter wasn't actually hacked. It was the person that worked there that got their details leaked in some way.
Yeah. And I mean, I heard another story that they say they paid someone in Twitter. That's another story that's floating around, saying they actually paid this person to provide the information, which is even I mean, how do you even get around that?
Yeah, I mean, if I know that there's a cloud-based wallet, now Wax has one, and I don't want to throw dirt on it. But if it's a cloud-based wallet, and I can find out who the employees are that work here, I can target them pretty easily and say, okay, you get 10 Bitcoin. Can I get this access? No. Okay, try another time.
Yeah,
You get 100 Bitcoin. When do we find this guy that is vulnerable? He has issues in his own life. He has this debt. Yeah, whatever. He's in the wrong place, wrong time, and he got this offer and he takes it. And
yeah,
this is the reason the Wax Cloud Wallet is not a vulnerability, but the people working could be. I'm not saying that they are. I don't want to scare anyone. But
sure.
the thing is, if it's a cloud-based service of any type, this is the risk. This is one of the risks that you have to take into account. And you should have, if you have something that you consider a lot of value, you should have an account that you control the private keys to if you're in the crypto space.
Completely. Definitely. You're right. Yeah.
Because then you reduce it, and then you use it only on a device that never use anything else. You not log into anything, and you reduce the risk further. And of course, the more value you have compared to what is a lot of value for you, the more of these measures you need to take.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, I don't know. I think Ledger support Wax now?
Yeah.
I think they should do. Yeah. So just a hardware wallet is great as well.
What happened a few weeks ago is that a guy used a Trezor, which is another one of the hardware wallets, and he actually went to the wrong. To access the Trezor, you go to wallet.trezor.io, and he actually went to the wrong address. So he went to fake Trezor page that looked like the correct one, like you showed before. It's the fake one, but it looked exactly the correct. He went in there, and everything was gone. He lost everything he had.
You have to be so careful.
Yeah, and this was a hardware wallet, so the key never left the device, but he actually signed the transaction. So
yeah, so that's like the point me and you mentioned earlier. Like probably the most important, if apart from password managers, is your own personal paranoia. Just make sure you double check everything and don't click on links. If you go to a URL, make sure it's the right one.
Yeah, and if we go to Wax, when the cloud wallet wants to sign something, it has a pop-up and it says what kind of action it wants to sign. Now they have removed the action to update off, which is how to change key, so you can't lose the account. This is very good. There's something they thought about from the start. Good. So that's very good. Because if you use another wallet like Scatter and you log into the wrong site and you sign a transaction that says update off, then they have your account. You don't have your account anymore, no matter how secure your keys are. They change the keys on the account. This cannot be done on the cloud wallet, so that's good.
Great. That's clever.
And you can actually remove this from your active key on your other accounts if you want. You can unlink this authentication. So if you only use your active key and you have a different owner key, you can prevent this, at least that kind of attack, by just removing the authentication in the blockchain from doing this action, which is one way to secure your key your account. But then again, there's a lot of risk. But just to read this update off or transfer or delegate bandwidth with the transfer flag, these things sends out your token. So if you give an application that wants to claim your rewards automatically and stake your tokens automatically, then you give them access to transfer your tokens to another account, because they can stake it to another account if they have the key to do it.
And I think it's hard, because the average, if you're a first time person to Wax, you don't understand all these wordings, update, off, and staking. So I think it's good that they remove stuff, okay? Because as a user, you just want to, you want to be able to click a button. The responsibility shouldn't always be with the user. Obviously, it ends with the user, but they should take away those easy mistakes like update off, which is, I'm glad they did that.
Yeah, but you can still transfer all the assets you have. So especially if you whitelist an action in a dApp, if you whitelist it, they can repeat the action and they can take everything. Because if you have thousands of NFTs, they can't send all of them in one action. So if you sign each, then you only sign a few. That is good. But if you have whitelisted the action to them, then you say, this service can do whatever they want with this action on my account. This is good because you don't need to don't need to hit the sign on the pop-up, so you just automate it.
Yeah.
So if you don't allow this whitelisting, that's another way to reduce the risk. So don't allow everything to be too convenient if you have a lot of value. If you have an account that you play a game with but you don't have any value, I whitelist everything. It doesn't matter. But
you know what we should do? We should, if we do another call together, we should set that up as a demo.
Yeah.
Show people how that might look. We make some fake NFTs, and then we can set up a dApp that requests to whitelist that action and send it all away.
Yeah, let's make that happen. I think it's good to show people what can happen. Yeah. And if we can make it look a little bit like one of the existing ones, I think that's even more fun and interesting. Not good for that dApp, but at least it showcased the issue.
We'll ask them. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's good, and I think we have been here for over a half hour. I think it's enough, and I will try to cut out pieces of this and actually give the users, if you're watching all of this, very good for you. But I will try to get them out and try to find out what you can actually do and these issues. I think it's very important. It's very easy to fall for this.
It's great you've done this video, and I think people should do more. I'm setting up a security wiki, but it's more for guilds, but I might add some stuff for general users just to give them an idea of how to protect themselves as well.
Very good.
Just a quick place you can go have a look and say, oh, I shouldn't do that, shouldn't it? When I do this, maybe check for this. Then you don't have to remember everything in your head.
Yeah, that's good, and then we can do these examples and showcase the issues in real life. I think that's good. And if you like this, you're watching, comment below, and if a lot of you think we should do this, then we can probably make it happen.
Yeah, because I was thinking, obviously the vulnerable bank, I can set up a portal for Wax that pulls down real NFTs. I can make it look legitimate, but actually in the background it's stealing your username and passwords. I can do that as a demo as well one day.
Yeah.
It'll take some work, so I need to go and do that.
You need to get some votes then, because you just run for guild, and this is the people we need. We need more teams that have expertise in areas that not all other teams are. We don't only need those that create content. We don't only need those that create dApps. We need more people, and this is one of the examples of a team that is here to provide.
To be unique, yeah.
So we can collaborate and build things together and build Wax strong. This is very important, very good. So that is nice,
because it is the best EOSIO chain, isn't it, really, at the minute?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm heavily into this with both time and I put my money where I speak, so
yeah, awesome.
So that's good. So let's wrap this up, and very grateful that you got here, and hopefully a lot of people will enjoy this.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you.